52 things you don't know about Survivor. Keep track of how many you know and let me know down in the comments. Starting with the chaos that was the first returning player season, Sandra Diaz-Twine was offered a spot on Survivor All-Stars. However, she needed to turn it down due to a severe infection she received from the Pearl Islands. Due to the large target winners had during All-Stars, Sandra wouldn't have stood a chance in that season, completely changing Survivor history forever. In Survivor All-Stars, the final 7 players left in that season were all originally on different seasons. This is an impressive stat when thinking about all the pre-gaming of Survivor All-Stars, and there was only 7 seasons that appeared before it. Borneo, Australian Outback, Africa, Marquesas, Thailand, Amazon, and the Pearl Islands. Robinson, formerly Expedition Robinson, was a Swedish reality show that released in 1997 that laid the groundwork for what Survivor would become. The show placed a group of strangers on an isolated location where they must provide food, fire, shelter, and they are even divided into separate tribes. Without Expedition Robinson, we would never have Survivor. Creating lots of controversy in recent years, the contestants don't have full control on what they wear while competing on Survivor. Thanks to info from former contestants like Kelly Wentworth and Lauren Ashley Beck, we are given a little more info, and it turns out players need to submit clothing for approval before they are flown out to Fiji. Adding on to the clothing controversy, production makes sure to keep an identical set of each outfit from every player on hand, ready to go in case of a wardrobe malfunction. In an interview from 2014, it was stated that Jeff Probst almost didn't receive the hosting job for Survivor. I can't imagine a world where Jeff Probst isn't on our television screens every episode, and apparently the final round for the hosting was between Jeff and Phil Kogan, who would later become the host of Amazing Race. If you don't know this stat, then you might not be a true Survivor superfan. Many people believe having the chance to play Survivor is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, which is true for the most part unless you turn into a fan favorite player. Boston Rob holds the record for playing the most seasons of Survivor, competing in 5 total and appearing in 6 seasons with the inclusion of the Island of the Idols. The entire premise of Survivor's 36th season was centered around the idea of reversing the curse of past mistakes in Survivor Ghost Island. The season was hyped up with marketing telling the fans the actual hidden immunity idols and advantages from past seasons would be used throughout Ghost Island. Clever fans figured this out fairly quickly that this was a complete lie, and was even confirmed on Twitter by Survivor alum. After competing on Survivor, you will never leave the island empty-handed, as no matter the placement, everyone is awarded some money. Obviously, we all know winning the game also means winning $1 million, but second place wins $100,000, third place wins $50,000, slowly trickling down where last place wins $2,500. The producers also award every player $10,000 at the reunion show if they are able to make it throughout the entire season without giving away any spoilers. In the early days of Survivor, there was a historic reward challenge found within 12 old school seasons, where winning the challenge means you win a car. This reward was later scrapped with the introduction of the Survivor car curse. This refers to the pattern where the player that won the car would eventually go on to lose the season, retiring the car reward challenge once and for all in Survivor Fiji in a very iconic fashion. Going all the way back to Survivor the Australian Outback, Colby Donaldson still holds the record for most individual immunity wins in a single season. Colby impressively won 5 immunity challenges that season, a record that has never been broken to this day. Although no one has ever broken Colby's record, it has been tied numerous times by Tom Westman, Terry Dietz, Ozzy, Mike Holloway, and Brad Culpepper. However, if you could count all individual challenge wins and not solely immunity wins, then Terry Dietz holds the record by himself for most wins in a single season. Colby Donaldson came close to 7 wins, but ultimately since season 12, Terry has held the record for most individual challenge wins with a grand total of 8 wins. In Survivor Redemption Island, Caramoan, Fans vs Favorites, and Game Changers, Andrea Boki would become a popular character that had a massive target on her back. Due to this, she holds the record for most votes against in a player throughout their Survivor career. In 3 seasons, Andrea has received votes 36 separate times. There is one thing to be voted for, but it's a completely different thing to know who to vote for. Throughout her Survivor career, Parvati Shallow holds the record for voting for the player who would end up being voted out the most. Ultimately, Parvati would vote correctly 28 separate times. In the chaos that was the Survivor's Second Chances voting system, if you remember correctly, to avoid spoilers, Mike Holloway was placed on the ballot and would have appeared on Second Chance if he lost Survivor Worlds Apart. It's unknown who he would replace, but the number 1 voted woman was Sierra and the number 1 voted dude was Spencer. It's been a known thought in the community that Russell Hantz playing Survivor in Samoa and then Heroes vs Villains is the definitive point that separates old school and new school Survivor. How Russell was able to play the game with hidden immunity idols was truly game changing. Even with the increase of idols every season, Russell still holds the record for most idols found throughout his Survivor career, with 5 idols. And talking about Russell Hantz, I truly believe there's only enough room for one Russell in the Survivor YouTube community. If you're enjoying this video, please consider subscribing and help me reach my goal of passing Russell Hantz in subscribers. Redemption Island only ever appeared in 3 Survivor seasons, including Redemption Island, South Pacific, and Blood vs. Water. So I bet a lot of you would think Ozzy holds the record for most duel wins. But that would be wrong, as Matt Elrod was a beast in season 22, winning a total of 7 duels. Spoilers and boot lists have always been a problem in the Survivor community, and I truly go out of my way every season to avoid spoilers. This was easier said than done during the peak of Survivor's popularity during All-Stars. To prevent spoilers, the producers filmed each castaway getting their torch snuffed before the season began filming. I'm not going to sit here and tell you Survivor is fake, as we all know that's simply false. But the producers need to make sure good television is made, meaning sometimes the players will be asked to reenact scenes if the cameras missed it, or if they want to get a better shot. Players will sometimes need to get the intense walk-in a tribal council shot multiple times. But the most famous instance of this was in Survivor Heroes vs. Villains, when Boss and Rob passed out and Jerry went to help him. There was no camera at first, meaning everything we saw from Jerry and Rob was classic Hollywood acting. More on Boss and Rob, like we touched on earlier, he holds the record for appearing in the most seasons of Survivor, with 5 or 6 depending on if you include the Island of the Idols. But appearing in so many seasons will also help you hold the record for spending the most days on Survivor. Yes, that's right, Rob holds this record as well, with a total of 152 days playing Survivor. Coming off the heels of the highly successful first season, the Australian Outback wanted to feel bigger. One way the producers decided to do this was by changing the number of days played from 39 to 42. Turned out to not be a good idea because this was one boring finale episode. In Survivor Samoa, Ben holds the dishonorable achievement to be the only player to get kicked out of a challenge for being far too aggressive. Other players have been removed from challenges, but it was for not following the rules. Unless you're super charismatic and cool, you're not supposed to talk to the camera crew while playing Survivor. Many times, players will get yelled at and in trouble if you try to engage in conversation with the camera crew. But this rule honestly just depends on if you're a fan favorite or not, because Tyson has been known to chat it up with the camera crew on multiple occasions. The youngest winner ever came from Nicaragua, as Fabio was only 21 years old. On the flip side, the oldest winner ever came from Gabon, as Bob was 57 years old. Denise Stapley is the only player in Survivor history to attend every single tribal council in a season. Additionally, she was the ultimate winner of Survivor Philippines. Sometimes we have players that just have a knack for the game and know exactly what's going on, and sometimes people feel completely lost. In Survivor Caramoan, Eddie Fox got the record for most times voting incorrectly. This man voted wrong a total of 9 times. The record for most team challenge wins throughout their Survivor career goes to Ozzy, as throughout his career in the Cook Islands, Micronesia, South Pacific, and Game Changers, Ozzy was able to win 24 different team challenges. Making a reality show can be stressful at times because you have one chance to make sure the challenge runs how it was meant to. The Dream Team is a group of people who compete in every challenge before the castaways to ensure everything runs smoothly. For a long time, my dream was to become a member of the Dream Team because Canadians couldn't play Survivor. This is a super obscure stat, but Natalie Anderson has the record for most average days played on Survivor. Counting Survivor San Juan del Sur and Winners at War, Natalie has survived an average of 39.25 days. You might be asking yourself, how is this even possible? Well, the Blood vs. Water seasons always start with a day 0, giving Natalie a bonus day on top of her Survivor career. The oldest player in Survivor history came in its very first season when Rudy Bosch played Survivor. During Survivor All-Stars, Rudy Bosch was 75 years old. The youngest female player in Survivor history is Julia Silowski from Survivor Korong. She started the season at the age of 18 and had her 19th birthday on day 10. Another very obscure rule put in place from the Survivor production team: the players are prohibited to go into the ocean after dark. Number 1, this is obviously not safe at all for the players, but I think the bigger reason for this is the producers want to catch everything on camera, and it's much more difficult at night. Just like how Natalie Anderson has the record for most average days played, she also has the record for highest average placement. Coming in first place in San Juan del Sur and second place in Winners at War, Natalie averages coming in 1.5 place. Normally, a player can only be voted out a single time in a Survivor season, but thanks to the Redemption Island twist, Ozzy was voted out 3 separate times during Survivor South Pacific. With playing on 4 separate seasons, having a season with Redemption Island and never winning the game, Ozzy also holds the record for most times voted out in a Survivor career, with having his torch snuffed 5 different times. Due to the Oolong tribe losing every single immunity challenge in the game, Survivor Palau is the only season without an official Survivor merge. Instead of merging together, Stephanie joined the Karor tribe when she was the only player left on her tribe. However, there was a Survivor Palau green merge buff that was made, just never used in the game. In case of emergencies, it's normal for alternates to be flown to location that might not have a chance to play Survivor. For Heroes vs Villains, Natalie Bolton was a confirmed alternate that sadly never got the chance to play Survivor for a second time. Due to being the first person voted out and then later coming back in Survivor Winners at War, Natalie Anderson holds a lot of obscure Survivor records, as she has lived on Exile Island for 33 days in a single season, the most of any player ever. Confirmed from Lauren Ashley Beck's Survivor Secrets discussion on TikTok, the Survivor players are given supplies such as sunscreen and bug spray in a single off-camera location with a medical box. Any fans of Queen Sandra will know that she has sat out in her fair share of Survivor challenges, but did you know she has sat out in the most challenges out of any player in Survivor history with 13 sit-outs total? Survivor changed its final tribal council format from 2 players into 3 players in the Cook Islands, and ever since then Survivor Nicaragua is the only season that has featured an all-male final 3. Only ever happening a few times in Survivor history, 5 players can be proud to say they have unanimously received all votes at the final tribal council. These players are Earl Cole, JT Thomas, John Cochran, Jeremy Collins, and Adam Klein. Another crazy record from Natalie Anderson. If you include her exile days on both San Juan del Sur and Winners at War, then she has been exiled for 36 days throughout her Survivor career, the most out of any player ever. In Survivor Blood vs Water, Laura Moret was voted for a total of 19 separate times, the most for any player in a single season. Survivor 42's very own Drea Wheeler holds the record for most advantages held at one time: the amulet, the extra vote, hidden immunity idol, and even the knowledge is power advantage. In Survivor Heroes vs Villains, Candace was originally on the Villains tribe and Parvati was on the Heroes tribe. However, they swapped tribes last minute because the producers were worried about all the Micronesia connections on the Heroes tribe. It is so hard to win Survivor as a challenge beast because as soon as you lose a challenge for the first time, the other players are going to want to vote you out. Joe Englund was immune for 29 days in Survivor, winning challenge after challenge. Survivor Edge of Extinction broke the record for most idols found by a player in a single season, as Rick Evans put on a show finding 4 separate hidden immunity idols. In one of the best idol plays in Survivor history, Kelly Wentworth was able to negate 9 votes with a single idol, the most by any idol ever, idling out Andrew Savage in the process in Survivor Cambodia. Kelly Wentworth also has the record for most votes negated with an idol in a Survivor career. With 2 idol plays, Wentworth was able to negate 12 votes. In Survivor the Australian Outback, the producers had to issue an apology when Colby took some coral from the water.